Hi, y'all. Welcome to the first episode of the Coffee Break podcast, where each month we interview a woman in the film and entertainment industry. It could be a producer, director, actor, screenwriter, or all of the above. We'll dive into their journeys and stories behind their work. My name is Kenzie Clem, and I am thrilled to be hosting this podcast. I'm an actress who is passionate about supporting fellow artists in our industry. In our first episode, we have Olivia Nash in the studio, who will be talking about her latest film that she wrote, directed, produced, and starred in. It is an absolute pleasure to have you.
Oh my gosh.
I am so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
It's just like for the starting of this podcast, having you, an actress, producer, screenwriter, director, all of the above, a quadruple plus threat is incredible.
Wow.
So welcome.
I got a big introduction. I love it.
I know. You deserve it.
Sweet.
You deserve it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. We are so thrilled to have you. So I wanted to start off by having you tell us a little bit about your acting background and the journey you took to get to where you are today, an actor, screenwriter, producer, and a writer.
Yeah. So I started when I was about, I would say like 11 or 12 as an actress. Started in school plays, did community theater, did that all the way up through about high school. And then I went to college, kind of took a break from it, went for business management and international business. But after college, the whole goal, even going into it, was like, I want to be in the film industry. Going to school for business in that way. But then I decided like, okay, but I love telling stories. Mm-hmm. And so like even all growing up, I had been like writing. I just didn't know my passion for screenwriting until after college. So the acting kind of got me into that. And so once I was like, I'm going to be a screenwriter, I started studying screenwriting for like 3 to 4 years and wrote a couple feature films. And then was like, actually, I want to direct this. I feel like I probably had the instinct of being a director probably most of my life because I'm directing a bunch of random stuff.
And like, you're self-taught, right?
Yeah.
You learned everything yourself.
Yeah,
incredible.
Self-taught. So once realizing that, I was like, you know what? I always wanted to do this. I went to business school for this, opened up my own production company, Fox Adrift Productions, and decided to produce my script. So yeah, this is kind of my first Intuit journey.
Amazing. The first Intuit journey, and it is a full-on feature film.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that. That takes so much passion and heart and perseverance.
Oh.
Absolutely incredible.
Oh, thank you.
So I was able to watch your brand new feature film, Hi.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. I loved it. Anyway, I'm going to let you talk about it, but I want you to tell people what was your inspiration behind it and what initially sparked your desire to write the film, and what was that journey of bringing it all together like?
Yeah. So one, let me give the audience a little, this is what the film's about, and then I'll go into what made my inspiration for it. So quick pitch for everybody. It's a coming of age drama dealing with 3 different love stories from parent to college to teen, all in one summer, in 2 different families that are trying to figure out forgiveness from their past, but also forgiveness within themselves. It's set in a coastal village, very beautiful place, but basically my inspiration for this film, I started in 2020 when I decided I'm going to write this script. It was during lockdown, and I was like, okay, well, if nobody reads this or makes it or whatever, doesn't matter because I'm really excited about this film. So I sat down, had the characters already in my head. So I already kind of knew like who Dylan was, Lavender was, Katie, Daniel, all of them. And so with those characters, I was forming a story of mental health and focusing on listening to these characters tell that journey. That's kind of where the idea started from and stemmed from, is because I wanted to hear them speak through that story. Going from that, I was like, okay, finished the feature during lockdown and then was like, you know what? I can make this. Like, I just like, my head was like, yeah, I can do this. So I kind of went to making proof of concepts. That way I can, try to get the funding for the actual feature. And in that process, that was kind of figuring out my team, figuring out what my style as a director is, figuring out I know how sets run. I've been an actress for a while, but how do I want to run my set? Especially going to business school, learning management. How do I want to manage people? And from there, making those two proofs, one in October of 2020 and then November of 2020, back to back. I was like, no, we can definitely do this. So went into the process of development, kind of went quick with development because we went straight into like pre-production. And then we shot the film in 2021 of August. So yeah, that's actually a pretty quick time span for a feature. But that was kind of the journey of the start of the film. I just believed in that story so much, and I believed in these characters and the voices that they were trying to tell.
That is incredible. So speaking of the characters, you play the lead Lavender Lark.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about her and your connection with her and how you found her really through yourself and becoming that character?
Yeah, it's strange because I'm not like Lavender in one bit. So as once people see the movie and once, from you watching it and all of that, I have a line in there about how you weave certain things of yourself within the story. Lavender's not really part of that for me, other than dealing with the closed off walls that she deals with. Growing up, I had put up my own walls, and I kind of wanted to dive into that section of her and show young people in this coming of age that even though you have those walls up, when you tear them down, it's okay to feel. It's okay to look at your past and say, hey, maybe I wasn't the proudest of this certain moment, but you can forgive yourself for those certain things that you have done because that's truly not who you were, just in a time of maybe trying to survive. So that's kind of where she stemmed from. That's where I wanted to try to bring certain, trying to figure out the right word for that, but young people, this character that is complicated and is not a linear line for her. That being said, I have a very opposite character, Dylan.
Yes.
He is optimistic about life. He's excited about life and excited about his work. He's an author and he's about to put out his first book, but he's dealing with such troubled home life, just as Lavender is as well. So I looked at them as kind of mirror characters, and the choice that you make in the way that when you're dealing with something hard at home, you get to choose how you respond, even though those circumstances are not something that you could control. So Dylan, on the one hand, got to choose that he wanted to help people and be happy and try to live life through that lens, where Lavender chose to build these walls up and close off and try to protect herself from other people.
Yeah. When we met the other day, we talked a lot about how the one thing you're always in control of is your choices. And it's very interesting that both of these lead characters, on the surface level, you see them as being so different, but really deep down, they're so integrated and intertwined and connected with what they're dealing with. And that's their bond, the start of their bond, which was really, really incredible to watch and see that grow.
Yeah, I wanted them to help each other through their circumstances during this one summer, and you really get to see their growth as humans once they meet each other. It was kind of almost like their savior in that way.
Yeah, it's at the surface level, you don't really see it, and you have to dive down because everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Yeah.
So that being intertwined into the movie really was beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
So what was the best part about being on set? Or do you have any fun stories or any challenges or as an actor, something that was tough, or as a screenwriter or a director or producer? I mean, directing and producing is so overwhelming, and you did both of them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That is a hard one. So this is how I describe independent film.
Go for it.
We shot in 21 days, pretty much back to back. We did have a couple days off. But overall, we're in this, I could describe it as its own world. You're in this bubble.
Yeah.
And so during that time, like, I knew nothing of what was going on in the rest of the world. Like, I just knew what this world was, this cast of characters, these humans, this cast and crew, and this was it. So looking back at those stories, I'm like, what did happen? I'm like, what did just happen? And like, especially coming from like playing Lavender and then cutting back to myself, back and forth as a director, it was just like, okay, as her, this happened, but like as me, did this happen? So it's like, it's a tough mix because it's just like, oh, there's so much going on. I would say some fun stories. I mean, one are just dealing with all the issues that can happen just being on a set with independent film, and a lot of things that you can't control, say the weather. So just to give everybody like an idea, we shot part of it in Austin, Texas, part of it in Falmouth/Woods Hole, Massachusetts.
I was very excited about that, my home state.
Yeah. It's so look at those two different environments, right? And so we thought shooting in August there were going to be like no rain, like at all. It's Texas, why would it rain? But anyway, the first week, and it's been okay, let me set it in 2021, there was like no rain during summer at all. Like it was like the driest months. And so right as we started filming, literally like the first day, it was like, actually we're gonna rain today. And we were like, oh, okay. And like a lot of that first week we were shooting a lot of stuff outside. So that caused some complications in the way of like, we only have this location for this certain amount of time. We have equipment outside. We have a tent like over this equipment, and I'm in character, so I have my costume, so I cannot go out there. The water is coming down on this tent over sound equipment, just like coming down, and I'm just like, it's like, you know when it's in slow motion?
Yeah.
That's what that was like. Like I was watching in slow motion, like I can't do anything. This could end like the entire production just right here. But luckily, like our crew is like phenomenal, and when they noticed the issue that was arising, everybody came in and just like started helping and getting the equipment out and making sure everything was good. But yeah, it wasn't set terrain. We didn't have any idea that it was going to, so that's why that's why the equipment's outside. We didn't know, like it did not say in the forecast. So we were just like, oh my gosh, what? But that's like a weird thing that happens on set, right? Like things you cannot control. I would say another thing, like, so we flew our cast and crew up to Massachusetts. I wanted to make sure that everyone stayed together instead of doing like A team, B team, you know. I wanted this is everybody's film. So when we were flying, we decided we're going to fly at 3 a.m. up to, but again, cheaper flights. So
you fly into Logan?
Boston? Yes, we did. So that was wild, getting like all of the cast and crew up there with their bags. And as much as you tell an airport that you're coming about 5 times, they do not remember that.
No.
So that's a whole process in itself, and we're dealing with trying to get everybody up there. Overall, it works out. Obviously, the film was made, but it's like those little things that you're like, that's crazy that even worked out, right? Like that's crazy that all of this ended up still being okay, even though we ran into complications.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question about the screenwriting process, because you talked to me about how you wanted to direct it and produce it. And as the writer, you saw it from a director's perspective, and you also saw it as a screenwriter's perspective, and blending those two worlds together. What was that like?
Yeah, I think when I wrote the story, I was in a different space, like mindset at that time. So like when I was writing it, I looked at it as more of a very simplistic story. Just focused in on the characters themselves, and like not, again, I didn't write it thinking it was going to get made. Like I was like, okay, we're just going to focus on these people and what I'm trying to say. When I took it over as a director, I was looking at it like, how do I want to portray this, and how do I want to show these humans, and how do I want to show this world? I think it's so important that you build the environment to create a world for the people to play in. So again, production design comes like, it was so important to me. It's always important to me. So when you see, which you've seen the film, the way that like the bakery is set was so specific, the colors, making sure that everything was very bright and vibrant. So was the bookstore. It was these places that I wanted everyone to fall into a world that was beautiful, and that you would want to go there, but it doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
And
a safe haven. Those two places felt like safe havens.
Yeah. It was places that like on the surface, everything looks really pretty and nice. But underneath, when you go home, things are going wrong. And I was trying to find that contrast between like when you're out in public, you put on a face and you think everything looks super fine and happy and whatever. But then when you go home, things are a little duller. The issues come up. You don't see what your neighbors are dealing with. You don't see what's in those walls, but on film you do. So again, it was that contrast with the production design that I was really trying to showcase, to show the characters themselves within the environment too. Director, I'm coming back around.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
As a director, I had a very specific style in my head that I wanted. So making sure that I had a DP that was on my side, that really loved the same thing I did, and loved the story and loved the way that I wanted to tell it, was so important to me. And shout out to Daniel, because I love him so much. He's my DP and editor on the film, and he full-heartedly understood me, and I think that was everything. I really love camera movement. So instead of telling a story in the way that everything's just very paced throughout the story, I wanted to create some of that chaos through camera movement, as if the camera was its own character. And we had decided that from the very beginning, that the camera would be its own character itself. So when you do a rewatch, you're kind of like, wait,
I'm now thinking about that, how the scene of Lavender and Daniel in front of the door, and it goes back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
As if it was someone watching both of them, like a ping pong. I love that.
Yeah. It was like, the lens is so important to me too, on the way that you're trying to tell this story. So that was coming from my director brain. Originally writing the scene, like when you look at as a screenwriter, you're more just focused in on, am I getting across these two people? An example, like Dylan and Lavender at the front of that door, he's trying to get her to go out with him, and she's like, no. Main thing, but we're trying to set up like her closed off walls and him actually trying to branch out for the very first time, and establishing that. With the camera itself, and from my director's stance, I'm looking at it from two mirror characters going back and forth with each other and getting nowhere, and then having to move forward into the scene, and we do like a whip zoom in there. So that's kind of that's the two sides, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's just incredible that you did all that, because I mean, being on set and in character, and then having to come out of character, not focus on yourself and focus on everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just Oh my goodness. I could not do that. So props to you. That is incredible for anyone that can be an actor and also the director and have two huge roles.
Thank you.
When we met for coffee the other day, we chatted a lot about being an artist and expressing yourself, and your feelings and your thoughts and how that comes out through your art.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to screenwriters who want to express themselves with their work, or if there's a hesitancy or a fear of kind of showing their true colors or letting down those walls? How was that for you?
The greatest advice that I've gotten as a screenwriter. So I would have people like readers read my work, get feedback so I could do edits, right? The best thing I heard was to lean in, raise the stakes. And at first, like, I was like, what does raise the, you know what I mean? Like, what does raise the stakes mean? Raise the stakes, once I figured it out, was to lean into what you were trying to say and not be wishy-washy with it. Like, either you're all in or you're all out. So you need to choose a side. And I think that's also important as a director. Like, you can't be like, oh, maybe this. You need to yes or no.
Yeah.
So as a screenwriter, looking at it as your work, it is your work at the time that you're writing it. And it is, as a writer, which is crazy, it's just one person sitting down, maybe two, sitting down and writing this story. It's almost a lonely process. But then as a director, it's a whole team that is taking over this story that one person sat down and is like writing and interpreting that. So as a screenwriter, lean in. What's on that page is going to come across on screen, because that is your roadmap. That is, like, if it is not on the page, it is not going to be on the screen. And if there are problems in the script, there's problems on the screen. So ultimately, when you're sitting down looking at your story and you have something to say, say it. Say what you want to say. Like, whether people resonate with it or not is not your problem. It's whether just that one person feels it and you did your job right.
I love that. So this is a perfect transition, because so you said you have to really lean into it and know what you want and make a definitive decision. And what's really interesting is that the ending of the film isn't simple. It isn't clear. This is actually, it's my favorite part of the film. It truly is, because
there's a contradiction now from Olivia. Just kidding.
So no, but I love that, because I mean, we chatted about how we both love when there's an ending to something and there isn't a clear-cut explanation.
Yeah.
And you take your own experiences and your own feelings and you draw conclusions from that, and how everything isn't necessarily what they seem. Why was ending like that so important to you?
Yeah, the ending, once people see the film, because they're probably like, what do you mean? The ending is a little bit left up to your interpretation. There is an ending that I have personally, that I wrote it that way. So, like, in my head, this is how it ends. But I've gotten so many conversations started from this ending.
That's what I wanted you to chat about.
Yeah. And so with that, it was left up to interpretation in the way that you're thinking about it, and you're opening up a discussion about mental health. Going into that, I'm trying to, because it's like, how do you say without saying, the story itself? Basically in the story, there is depression, anxiety, PTSD, alcoholism. It's dealing with a lot of different topics under the surface. Like, it's not one main theme. It's just each character has their own thing that they're dealing with. That being said, going back to the ending, it focuses in a lot with depression, and that there isn't actually a linear line in that, and that everyone's looks very different. The ending left up to how you interpret it is meant to, from your experience in your life, you might find how do I put this? You might find something different from what you have experienced in your past, and it's going to be different from what I've experienced in my past and who, the person next to you's past. So opening up that conversation with the person next to you at the end of the film, you're like, do you think this happened? Or do you think it's all fine? Or, and that's left to you think about. That is mental health.
Yeah.
There isn't a yes or no. There isn't a this is going to be fixed or this, whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
But overall, I'm wanting to try to say that with mental illness and with mental health, you can live your life and have these thoughts and deal with these things, but ultimately you can still keep going on. And that was my interpretation of the ending. And you can take that however way you want to take it when you watch it. But I want everyone to know that you can keep moving on and moving forward.
Yeah. And that, when we talked about it, is that mental health is a journey. And it's not just, okay, I'm good, and how much art can help people. Yeah. I mean, I used that in my struggles. That was my outlet as a kid, was art. So I love that you wrote this story that isn't cut and dry, and it isn't just the stereotypical surfacey level, oh, there's depression and anxiety. It is so much deeper than that, which I feel like a lot of films don't always hit on.
Yeah.
And it makes you think.
Yeah, it's a difficult topic in the way that, because you don't always know what someone's dealing with, depression looks different for everybody. Anxiety looks different for everybody. There's always different symptoms. The way that it's interpreted in this film specifically is off of what Lavender would experience or Dylan would experience. But basically, how I was trying to show that there's people that I know that have depression, and a lot of the time you would have no idea. Mm-hmm. You would have, you're going to be watching this movie and you're like, yeah, what do you mean? Because out in public, they're happy and they're smiling and everything seems fine. But then when they're in the closed doors, it starts to break down. And when they're alone, you see those actual internal thoughts that they're dealing with. I don't see that a lot in film.
I agree.
It's like, I just wanted to represent mental health in a different way, because maybe someone can connect with that and get that message out there that it will be okay. Because ultimately, sitting down, writing it, and this is tying back to even the beginning as a screenwriter and why I wrote the story, is that I want young people to know that whatever you're dealing with at home, you can make it through and it's going to be okay. Even if you have mental health issues, you have family issues, there is always some sort of silver lining, and that's always gotten me through.
The world needs to see this. And you also chatted about submitting it to festivals and the festival circuit, which I think even a lot of people in the industry don't fully understand film festivals, how they work, how difficult it is to get into them. It's not just like you can submit something and woohoo, you're accepted. Just a quick little side note on that and how that works.
Yeah. So there's different tiers of film festivals. I would say there are some that you can submit and you just get into, and that's super awesome, and you can get your laurel and celebrate what you've created, because everyone deserves to create their art and celebrate what they've done. We're also looking at, say, the big festivals, right? The top tier ones, which are Tribeca, South by Southwest, Sundance, all of those top level ones. You could potentially get in just by submitting, but you would be the 1%. So your film would stand out of maybe 10,000 submissions that have been sent out. That's awesome. Great luck. That's so cool your film's gotten in. People have done it, but it is difficult. A lot of the time, because there's a lot of studio films, those are already kind of selected to get into the festivals already. So a lot of the spots that are open aren't really open, and they are already taken up by those studios that way to help with promotion, have their publicists get them in, sales agents, get to the distributors, all of that great jazz. But then you also have independent films. They still do get in, but some of them, there's different tiers of independent film. So there's independent film where it's like more of a higher budget independent. There's also low budget to micro budget. Having that team is really important. So say you have like a publicist, a sales agent, they can help you get into those specific festivals. That being said, it's not easy. So it's not just like everyone submits and it's like, good luck to you. It's more, there is a system that is in place to get to where they have to be. Also having like a name star. A lot of the time the industry wants someone that they have a recognizable face. So a lot of the time the festivals will lean towards those films first, just because they know that they will sell easier, because they already have a built-in audience. That's why independent film, a lot of the time they will try to get like a named actor. And what I mean by a name actor, that's like a star that you see on TV already that that could be an A-list. Usually you're trying to get like one that is very marketable in all territories, like all international and the US. And that instantly independents, they know that like, okay, we're going to actually get into the festival because this is going to sell. And that's what distribution is also looking for too, is like, what is the target audience and what are they going to be able to sell this, right? Like, is this something that they want to take a risk on? So if it was something that no named cast, smaller film, don't know if it has a built-in audience already, distribution is having to decide like, hey, do we want to take a big risk on this, or are they going to pick the film that they know there's like minimal risk because they already have the named actor in it and they know that there's a built-in audience? So there's like a catch there, but I don't want to say that's not possible for independent film to sell and have a very good turnout. It's just difficult, and that's it. That being said, make your films.
Yes.
And I don't believe in like having to like always follow the rules. Like everybody says like, this is what you should do and this is how you're going to do it. And that, like, there is no right path as a filmmaker. Like, make your film because you love it. Make it because you believe in the story. If you believe your story doesn't need a star, make it anyway. Like, you don't have to don't have to follow what the business is saying. That being said, will it be a difficult path? Maybe. But if you believe in it, maybe not.
Yeah.
So that's the festival route. That's what I'll go into.
No, that was perfect. And then to wrap it up, what are your plans for 2024? What's the movie's plans for 2024? Tell us, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I guess I'll go first with like High's plan. High is being sent out to the festival circuit, but we're also going out for distribution currently. So that's a fun process in itself, is now that we've gone from, pre-production, production, post-production, and now that we're finished with the film, we get to go through distribution. So we're just setting up all those meetings, setting up, festivals, going through all those different avenues, and we'll see where the right home for High is. So that's kind of that journey for 2024 with High. For me specifically, I'm currently working on a short film for a friend right now. And so we're in post-production for that. And I'm really excited to have that come out because it's a very personal story for her. And I'm sure she'll go into it eventually. So I don't know how much I can say, but it's a personal journey with her and her mom. And I really wanted to take on a story that, she trusted me with the story because she wanted it to be told in a certain way. So that one I'm excited about, but also I've written a couple of other scripts. There's another one that I'm currently in development and trying to
I'm so
get
excited
out there. Can't say too much about that one, but again, do have another feature on the rise. And then I'm also just collaborating with a lot of like the Austin film community on helping whatever projects I can help with them. And I've had a couple meetings so far. 2024 has been feeling pretty good. So
I love that.
Yeah, can't wait to see what else comes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Olivia. It has been such a pleasure to have you.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love talking with you.
Are you kidding me? It's been so nice. We finally got to meet. You emailed me about your film, and then we're both in Women in Film and Television Austin. We just kept missing each other at different events. So finally being able to connect and sit across the table from you has been so great.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad we could like hang out. And this is a great conversation.
Yes. And to our listeners, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and follow on Spotify and iTunes so you don't miss out on future episodes. And we also have an Instagram account where we'll post updates of who will be on our podcast and also updates of people from the past, like Olivia, and all of the things that she is doing in the future. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.